Hello, welcome back to the kitchen. This week we're going to be making another easy vegetable dish. This time it's going to be tomato soup. So I'm starting with the tomato sauce that I made over the summer. This has been in the freezer. I got it out to thaw a couple days ago. This is just a base tomato sauce that I made using tomatoes and just a tiny bit of salt and a tiny bit of honey. And I did make a video about that, which I'll link in the description. I also have some bean water, or bean juice as I like to call it. That is just the liquid that comes in canned beans. I save that because it adds a really good flavor to soup. And we're going to start off, of course, with olive oil. In order to saute our onions, I'm going to be using one yellow, one red. Some leftover chicken bone broth. Oh, and also along with our onions, we have to include our garlic. I have a few cloves here. Last time I made this soup, I did it with an entire head of garlic plus part of another head. This time I don't have very much left, and the store was out, so we're just going to make do with these little ones, plus I'm going to add some powdered dried garlic. And in addition to the powdered dried garlic, we're going to have a bunch of different kinds of herbs and spices in here, including sage and thyme, rosemary, roasted red pepper flakes, and black pepper. I actually would have preferred to roast my garlic ahead of time, but I forgot and it's getting close to dinner time. So we're just going to be going with the raw garlic. If you do want to roast your garlic ahead of time, it adds even more flavor that way. And I did show how to do that in the parsnip mashed potatoes. Or I think I at least explained how to do it, even if I didn't show it, in the parsnip mashed potatoes video. So I'll link that in the description too. And the other nice part about roasting your garlic ahead of time is that it makes the garlic turn into kind of a paste, and all you have to do is squeeze it out of each clove, which is a lot easier than peeling off all these darn little papery bits. When you're using your knife to get stuff out of the way on your cutting board, you should always scrape with the dull edge of the knife like this to get it out of the way. Not with the sharp edge, because that's going to make your sharp edge get dull. Okay, this is an annoying thing that happens sometimes with onions, where part of the inner part of the onion goes bad. You can still salvage the parts that are outside the bad area just by peeling the layers. I like to leave 1 or 2 layers of good stuff in between the bad stuff and the part that I'm going to use, just in case. So I'm not going to use any of that. but I can still use these two outer layers once I get the skin off. Alright, I just turned my stove on medium-high. Next, we're going to put in some olive oil. Don't be shy. Now we're going to wait a few minutes until this gets hot enough. In the meantime, I think it would be okay to start adding the herbs. And here's my garlic powder that I mentioned earlier. Wow, okay, that's a lot. I'm just gonna flick some water. And you can hear it sizzles when I flick the water on it. So that means it's ready to add our vegetables. You don't want to ever soak your cutting board, just kind of wipe it down and then dry it. Okay, I don't know if you can see how I'm starting to get some stuff sticking here. So, and it is looking a bit dry, so I'm going to add a little bit more olive oil. I'm just going to scrape out the stuff that got a bit stuck. And it comes right off now that I have enough oil in there again. Alright, my onions are starting to look slightly translucent. I don't know if I hold up. You see, they're not quite as solid looking as they were before, especially the thinner strips, like say that one. They're starting to look slightly translucent, and I don't want my vegetables to be mushy because remember I am going to be still simmering this, bringing this to a boil and simmering it once we add our other ingredients. So I'm going to stop now. If you do want to add other vegetables to your soup, just keep in mind how long they're going to take to cook. So hard vegetables like onions and carrots and celery, you want to add those more at the beginning because they take longer. But if you feel like you want to add some bell peppers or some greens or other more delicate vegetables that take a shorter time to cook, you want to add those after you get to this stage with the onions. Don't just add them all at the beginning or they'll get overdone if they're the more delicate vegetables. Alright, at this stage we add our liquids. Whew, okay, now it's quieter. And finally our bean broth here, which is still mostly frozen. I don't know if I can pop it out. Okay. So we're going to run this under warm water so I can get it out of that container. Come on. Ooh, okay. Okay, so after I add my liquids ingredients, I'm just going to stir. And the fact that this is frozen is not a big deal because the next step is to bring this whole thing to a boil. Oh, actually I do want to add my pepper because I didn't add that earlier. Turn it on and we're going to turn the heat up to high. And just let it go until it boils. Well, the screen's fogging up, so I'm not sure if this is coming through. But it was definitely bubbling strongly, so now I'm stirring it. Okay, I just stirred the pot and I'm turning the heat down to medium. because what I want is for this to simmer. So, see how there's little bubbles coming up like that? But it's not a full boil. This is what we want. So at this stage, you can choose to cover your soup part way. But I think I want my soup to thicken up a little bit more. So I'm gonna let it open so that more of the steam can escape and thicken up my soup faster. Normally you should let it simmer for about 15 to 20 minutes before you serve it. So we'll be back in a little bit. And if you notice that your soup is getting a bit too bubbly, you can just turn it down a notch like I just did. I turned it down to 1 notch below medium. And you should also stir it just every once in a while to make sure nothing's sticking to the bottom. Alright, and we are all done. It's been simmering for about 15 minutes, so it's ready to serve. Alright, I hope you had fun making the soup. I'm going to serve mine with some Parmesan cheese on top. I think this would also be really good with toasted cheese sandwiches, which I don't have the ingredients for, but if you want me to make a separate video about toasted cheese sandwiches, just let me know. Alright, bye, see you next week. Also, sharp-eyed people might notice that I have the ingredients out here to make another recipe, and you'll get to see what that is next week. Alright, bye. Okay, one thing I did forget to add to my soup, unfortunately, are the roasted red pepper strips. If I had added those during the soup, I would have put those in right after it came to a boil and right before I started the simmering stage. But I can still add them to my finished soup, since this isn't really an ingredient that needs a lot of cooking. It's already cooked, of course. That means I can just add it to the finished soup, and when I go to microwave a bowl of the soup, it'll just get heated up along with everything else. Using canned ingredients like that is just a really easy way to add a little something more to your soup without spending a lot of time and effort. Another thing I sometimes put into soup is canned salsa. Tell me what you like to add to your soup that is really easy. Alright, hope you enjoy. See you next week.